Hi everyone, it's Nicole Spohr here today for Mama Elephant with a Quick Stripes Halloween card. The Quick Stripes is a brand new product from the June 2020 release that you can create backgrounds with 4 different widths of stripes. So if you are wanting to create like some sort of background, it's fantastic. Or in this case, we're going to use it to create a striped sentiment. We are going to start with another brand new product from the release. This is the Deep Etched Night Sky cover. I have die cut this from some black licorice Lawn Fawn cardstock. It is a fantastic background for night skies of any kind. And then I am using a little low tack tape to mask off that outer edge from the stitched outline to the edge. That's going to give an instant frame to 3 edges of the card, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. And then over that night sky background, I wanted to give it a little bit more of a spooky feel and flair. So I'm taking the My Favorite Things mini cloud stencil and some white pigment ink, and kind of at an angle I am building this night sky. And it makes such a huge difference in the finished look of this card. Now, if Halloween cards, are not your thing, you could totally switch up the sentiment, maybe for October birthdays, and that would be really fun as well. Or if there is some sort of a party, I always think these are kind of fun to send to little ones, especially, or anyone who is a Halloween fan. But I know there are quite a few who don't do Halloween cards. And so if that's the case, you can still use these Halloween images. I would just do birthdays or other kinds of occasions, or even October hello cards would be really fun. You could do that easily by switching up your sentiment. After I have stenciled, I am taking some Lawn Fawn liquid stardust and I am going to splatter this all over the background. That is going to even reinforce this spooky kind of night sky feeling with some nice kind of shimmery, glittery little splatters. I am going to let this air dry, so let's peel off all of this low tack tape. Set this aside for a second while we work on some of our other die cutting for the background scene. So I did all the background scene building first. We've got a couple of borders here that I used the Landscape Trio dies. These have always been one of my most used dies for Mama Elephant. They're great for if you're going to do a scene building at all. And I've die cut these from some Hues Palm cardstock. I did take a little bit of black soot Distress Oxide ink. I actually didn't even grab my ink pad. I just grabbed my foam ink blending tool that I use for that, and it's still kind of got some of that ink on it from a previous project from a while ago. And I just inked up the edges to deepen and darken them. I like to do that when adding green to kind of a spooky scene. I've done this for a long time because I think it makes the green of the landscape just flow nicer into our sky. If you ever have trouble lining up your border with your background panel, use your Misty. I had a viewer give me this tip a while back, and it is literally one of the best tips I've ever gotten. Fantastic for easily lining up your borders. I noticed that my borders were a little longer than my panel, so I went ahead and trimmed those. Now, I wanted some trees in the background, but I needed them to be kind of tiny. And so I am going to alter the Mama Elephant tree branches cover. I've die cut that from some Hues, or pardon me, I think I actually used Lawn Fawn ground coffee cardstock. And then I'm actually going to trim those from the cover. They are these great long spindly trees, and if you don't add any of the leaves that come with that tree branches cover to them, they're going to make fantastic little spooky trees. So we're going to use about 3 of those along the border of our card. I'm not going to adhere them quite yet. I will come back to that in a little bit when I finish with our sentiment. So everything on my card, even though I knew all along I was going to use the Little Mummy agenda, I built everything else first, and the images are going to be the very final thing we add today. Next, I have a piece of regular printer paper. This is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inches. It could be anything. It just needs to be big enough to build your background. And I am covering it with a piece of Stick It adhesive. I went ahead and ran that through my Spellbinders Platinum die cutting machine to make sure the adhesive was stuck to the printer paper really well. I'm using the printer paper because it's really thin, so it's going to be easy to die cut because we're going to be layering on these great quick stripes that I have die cut from multiple colors of gray, black, white, and orange cardstock to create a custom striped sentiment. I absolutely love this. You could just as easily make this a background if you want to. And there are 4 different widths. I originally thought I'd use the 2 smallest widths for my sentiment, kind of mixing and matching, but I decided to just stick with the smallest one because we are die cutting from these stripes. I really feel like I want to get the most color and the most design, and I thought the smallest stripe would work the best, and I think that really did end up working out great. I did not cover the entire panel, so I'm actually going to save the rest of the panel for another project, which I'll be sharing with you a little bit later on this month. We're going to take the pretty new, it's not new this month, but these are not very old. This is the headliner alphabet from Mama Elephant, and we're going to spell out the word eek with an exclamation point. I wanted to use something fairly small, and I didn't really want to use boo. I think boo is used a lot, and it would have been cute, but I thought eek would be kind of fun. So I went ahead and I am going to die cut my letters from these stripes using my die cutting machine. And remember, because we used printer paper for the background, it's going to actually die cut really easily. To give my letters a little bit more stability and just a little more presence on my busy background, I am actually going to die cut those letters then from black licorice cardstock 2 more times, and then stack them one on top of another. And it's going to give them just a little bit more dimension when I adhere them to the background of my card. So let's go ahead and glue down those trees now from the tree branches cover. And we're just doing this directly on the background. We're going to have 2 on one side and 1 on the other. I kind of like odd numbers of embellishments. And then we're going to glue the letters one on top of another like I mentioned a minute ago, ending with the striped letter on top. And this would work for any kind of stripe that you want to do, for any holiday, any occasion. It's just another great way to use these stripes. You can definitely trim them with your paper trimmer, but if you never want to worry about them not being uniform, oh my gosh, these quick stripes are a lifesaver. I love to create custom striped backgrounds for cards, for letters, for whatever it might be. So this is a fantastic die collection. It's going to be one of my most used, I know, because it's just something, while it's a basic, it is so versatile. I started with the middle letter and then built my way out. And I did leave a little room next to the E on the left, and you're going to see in a little bit when I add the little mummy agenda what I'll do with that. I'm also finishing with some Simon Says stamp sentiment strips Halloween greetings to finish out my sentiment. The top one says, "You're wicked cute," and the bottom says, "Happy Halloween." Now I decided I wanted some additional sparkle, so I am gluing some Lawn Fawn Autumn Sparkle cardstock. This is glitter cardstock to the back of the panel. And I chose to use liquid adhesive because glitter cardstock can be kind of tricky to adhere with a tape runner. And so I used liquid adhesive, put some acrylic blocks on top of that to hold down while I work on everything else. And then I'm going to stamp some adorable little spiders from the little mummy agenda along the bottom edge. So we're going to do 2 on one side and 1 on the other. And that just kind of adds to our overall spooky theme that we have going on here. We're going to finish our spiders with some white gel pen in the center of their eyes so that their faces kind of come to life. So let me go ahead and remove that and grab my white pen. I did stamp the Little Mummy Agenda images. We're going to be using 7 images from the Little Mummy Agenda. You know, they always come with so many adorable images. So I kind of laid them out on my card first and then stamped them, and I'm going to color them in really quickly. This is super fast coloring. I'm not using a ton of colors. The pumpkin is YR24 and YR27. And then we're going to do a variety of skin tone for the faces, and I'm going to do that all at once. I'm using E00, 11, 13, and 27 in different combinations, and then R20 for the cheeks. And then for the mummy wrap itself, that's even easier. We're going to shade with a little warm gray 4 and then blend out with warm gray 00. Really, really fast coloring. Nothing special about this at all. These are so super teeny tiny. I don't worry about adding a ton of shading to them. I just want to kind of get that color laid down on each of the images and then move on. The only images that are really going to have a whole lot of color here are the little mummy holding the pumpkin and then the little mummy in the coffin. And for the coffin, I will add a little bit of red back behind there just for a little additional color and interest in the design. And you can see how quickly I colored these in with my warm gray markers. I know I've sped up the video, but I literally didn't spend hardly any time at all with this. I just very, very quickly laid the color down with the warm gray and blended out. Going in with R20 and adding those little pink cheeks to all of those little cuties. A little brown stem for our pumpkin as well. We're going to go around the coffin then with warm gray 8 around the edge, and then around the mummy itself is another little border, so I'm going to go ahead and trace that out just with warm gray 8. And then I did do a little blending with our 46 and 59 for the inside there of that mummy coffin. We will die cut all the images with the coordinating Little Mummy Agenda dies. I did leave plenty of space around my images so that I could tape the dies around them all at once. I taped each of them down, ran it through my die cutting machine with one pass of the machine, so I had everything die cut all at once. And now I'm ready to start gluing it all together. And I have 2 little borders here. I love to have a couple of borders because it gives you a couple of areas to tuck your whatever kind of image it might be. In this case, it's the mummies. And I am just simply going to build along this entire edge with 6 of the mummies. The 7th is actually going to be peeking around the E in eek, and I'll show you how I achieve that here in a second. Since I've already glued those down, I really can't tuck it behind since the glue has long since dried, but that's totally okay. So I'm kind of just playing with it, seeing exactly where I want that to go. And I'm going to take my scissors then and just trim kind of a diagonal line. I don't want to cut into his cute little face. And then I'm just going to tuck him here like he's peeking around the edge of the E. I'm going to go in with a black glaze pen and add detail to each of the eyes, and then we will adhere the entire panel to a white top fold card base to finish the design. Thank you guys so much for joining me today for this Quick Stripes Halloween card featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies. The supplies I've used to create my card are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Mama Elephant stamps and dies that you might be interested in. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell to never miss a new card making video. Thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.